These ladies probably wrote it up, so thank you. Joanna and Bethany is back to Sweeting, and this is Joanna. Oh yeah, thank you.
You, Joanna, I'm Jeannie Milligan.
Oh my gosh,
I talked to you.
So good to see you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for doing the article. I really appreciate it.
Happy to do it.
So the tour is next week.
Ooh.
So getting ready, but thank you so much.
Oh,
you were delightful.
Oh, appreciate it. All the time. I love what I do. Absolutely love it.
So I got my answer to my $1 million question. Everything's going
Delivering everything.
Oh my gosh.
It's so much easier to clean.
I said at my age,
I know. The time when I spill and overflow, I have a wolf and I love it. But when I overflow with water into that thing, oh my God,
I
it's
get it.
induction. And does it cook as well as gets
They say better.
better?
In the last 2 weeks, that's what I've been doing. Well, somebody brought it up and I thought they're wrong. So I did my own research 2 weeks ago Sunday, and then this past Sunday.
And you're right. You're right.
Now, the gas wolf looks more spectacular. All depends who wants it.
They are the first time I have a grill, and it was my first time I was cooking hamburgers on some griddle, and I was up half the night.
Oh, I won't. I don't want it. That goes outside.
Hamburgers go outside and steaks. Yeah, I do pancakes on it.
I cooked a pound and a half New York strip last night. That was outside. It was pretty good. 128 degrees.
Oh my gosh. Oh, can you, do I need to touch some of this?
All right.
Thank you.
Is that, yeah, there we go. All right.
Thanks for
Taking your time, being here. We appreciate it. We know your time is the one thing you don't get back.
And we do very much appreciate you being here. I'm going to project. We have technical issues from time to time. But the official people have good microphones. Again, welcome. My name is Larry Campbell. I'm in Builder Sales Development here with Sub-Zero Wolf. And you earlier were up walking around in and are now seated in the biggest and best Sub-Zero showroom in the entire world, right here in Dallas, Texas. So welcome.
As well as should be.
It's a special occasion tonight. Anytime you can get this young lady to my left to slow down a little bit and get her to help peel some onion skins back and see what's really going on in the housing and real estate related industry and so forth. We have a great builder panel to field some questions. I've warned them that Candy's in charge, and they still volunteered to serve on the panel. Candy and I go back when she was editor for D Home, and so we've known and loved and teased each other for a lot of years. She's done a lot better than I have, but she recently, I think somebody told her they thought the best blog in the whole U.S.
Oh, U.S.
And I can't argue with that, but if you're not following Candy's Dirt, you need to do that, and you'll hear some more about that along through the evening. I want to introduce the lady that runs our staff here as far as the food goes, and Rebecca Osborne was out here, and that's what happened. She ducks into the kitchen, but Rebecca runs our kitchen.
Curly hair.
I'm sorry?
The one with the curls.
No, she'll duck out here. She goes, "Can't do it." This is Rebecca, our sous
Yes.
chef. Rebecca's part of the reason for this, and I'm grateful to her for that. But the staff, Darla Cook, our showroom manager, helped coordinate all our events here. So there's a number of us around. If you see a black badge, you have a question after Candy's through with us, then we'll be around and can answer any questions. This is a showroom that we like to share. It's a great place to bring your clients, and as I tell my builders, send your customers and designers down there, forget the appliances, and that's often to hear an appliance guy say, forget the appliances, but there are a lot of other decorating ideas throughout the showroom, and we do want you to use it. So let's introduce our builder panel. We'll start on my far left, Todd Henworth with Calais Homes. Todd, welcome. And we'll go with Matt Mitchell. I hate to interrupt your wine drinking, Matt.
Yeah, me
Bring
too.
it, bring it, bring
We've got
it.
Matt Mitchell's with James Andrews Custom Home. Matt, thank you for being here.
Have you come out here?
Anywhere you want to sit, buddy. You have visual aids also, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And,
Otherwise, they look at me.
Chris Daway. Chris, come on down. Chris is with Rosewood Custom Homes. Thanks, Chris.
That's okay, you don't need a visual aid. We've got you.
Chris has been in the business longer than it would look like, just looking at him, but I'll let him share some of that with you. And then Alan Hoffman with Hoffman Custom Homes. Alan, you have visual aids also, right here. So we have a number of folks, primarily real estate folks. I see some architects. John, welcome. Thanks for being here. We've got another architect, Michael Land, back there in the back. So we've got a little mixture of folks and a couple of our builder friends, some other Dallas Builders Association officers. So without further ado, we'll turn this over to Ms. Candy Evans.
Thank you. Oh, there we go. Thank you guys so much for coming. Now can you hear me? Can you hear me? There you go. Okay, we're gonna have to make sure everyone can hear me really well. Just let me know if you can't. I'll just project. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much to the wonderful folks here at Wolf Sub-Zero. I kind of like Wolf. I have one of those at home, and I love to cook on it. And we love Sub-Zero because we actually know now that a study by that wonderful company out there called Zillow says that if you use the word Sub-Zero in the description of your listing, you will actually net a 38% premium over other listings. So don't forget, if your listing has a Sub-Zero in it, put that at the top of your line, or when we write it up for Candy's Dirt, we'll start putting that in there. It's a great product. What we're going to talk about tonight kind of stems from a discussion that we started at a Dallas Builders Association luncheon, was it about 4 or 5 weeks ago? And it was incredible. We couldn't stop. We were like, killing. They were begging us to go out of the mud. But we were talking about disruption in real estate, and we had a lot of people there who were disrupting the real estate industry. Well, tonight we have some builders who are disrupting the building industry in a very good way, I will tell you. All of these folks are doing really great things. And so we're going to talk about it a little bit. We're going to start over here with Chris, who is with Rosewood. Oh, over here is Chris. Okay. I know Todd and I know Alan, but Matt and Chris. Okay. Chris is with Rosewood, and then of course there's Alan, who I've known Alan for a long time, Alan Hoffman, because he has a very unique story to tell you about what he does in building, as does this gentleman on the end who looks like, Matt, you brought us a little demonstration thing there to show us?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Because we have we want to hear all about good building. And of course, I know Todd very well, Calais Custom Homes. I've been through many of your homes, written about many of them, and hope to write many more. And we hope to write about all your homes. But let me just ask you guys, what are some of the top things you're seeing that are really disrupting the industry today? This showroom, by the way, is a disruptor because you come in here, and it's a good disruptor. You come in here and you bring your clients, and you even can bring your staff in here to learn about these appliances, which are fabulous. And I kind of call this a Disneyland, for adults, because you can come in here and play with all these wonderful things. But appliances are much more complicated today, aren't they? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. They're fascinating because it used to be, oh, it's a refrigerator, oh, it's an oven, and now they talk.
They talk.
Now they have cameras.
Right.
Now I can pull up my refrigerator on my cell phone and look and see if I'm out of milk while I'm at the grocery store.
That's great.
Or it'll send me a text saying, oh, you need this or do whatever, and it's amazing.
And are you finding that people buyers want, clients want these in their home? Are you,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, your turn.
Absolutely, we're putting in
Yeah.
a ton of appliances like that. I think for us too, the kitchen as a whole has changed. As you go to more contemporary style homes, more open floor plans, today at least 80 to 90% of our homes have a prep kitchen or a back kitchen, as we call it. Much like you
we
saw
have
Rebecca
here.
come back here. So not only do you have your main kitchen appliances, now you have a secondary kitchen appliances, and again, hugely popular.
Hugely popular. And you know, I did build a home, God, 18 years ago. I can't believe it was 19 years ago. It was so long ago. It's time to build another one. Gotta go. But it was so confusing. And whenever I come in the showroom, which did not exist then, I can see how you could come in here as a client, a customer, and you could go, oh my God, that's what it looks like. That's what it does. Okay, and then I can visualize, putting this in the kitchen and what kind of tile I want to put behind it, what kind of countertops you're going to do. I mean, coming in here though, of course I want to build 16 homes because there's so many wonderful different vignettes. But do you find that your clients are a little bit confused by all of the choices that are out there?
No, because there's only a few good ones.
Ah, ooh, do tell. This is when we get to the dirt, guys. Okay, a few good ones.
Well, Sub-Zero Wolf has always been at top of the market to us.
Absolutely.
And like you said, with 38% premium,
Yep.
by mentioning it in your listing,
Right.
for us it's like a symbol of quality. It's like showing up to a watch convention wearing a Breitling or a Rolex.
Yeah.
It gets you a seat at the table. when
Oh, I
you
think
sit.
an Apple does too. No, I'm just kidding.
So it's almost like a badge of honor. You have the Sub-Zero refrigerator and a 48-inch Wolf range. It's the V8 AMG engine that's in the Mercedes.
And people will pay for that.
Oh, absolutely.
They will pay for that because they know they're going to get the return on their investment, and they're going to the value on home. In fact, we're finding that luxury kitchen appliances are not really even seen anymore as a luxury. They're seen as a rational investment because what is the most important room in the home? It's the kitchen, right? And isn't that the home that every agent tells every seller has to be, spruced up or has to be the best it can possibly be? I think it's the kitchen first, the master bathroom second, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
There's a couple of rooms that are quickly catching up, like the utility room
Oh, yeah.
and the pantry, which is kind of
Oh,
strange.
God. I get so bugged. You guys don't do this because you're good builders, but if I go to a house that's over $1 million and there's no friggin' sink in that laundry room, I'm telling you, they could just tear the whole thing down and start over again. It's terrible.
I think a good gauge of what room is popular is just going to an Instagram account and finding what rooms are being shown and shown off. And generally, people are showing master closets.
Yeah.
They're showing lots of utility rooms because people have kind of turned their attention towards making these spaces that used to be more functional now like actually aesthetically pleasing. And
Right.
they're designing these spaces for themselves rather than their guests.
Exactly. Well, I think we did a story last week, and of course there's so much conflicting information out there. Last week, the National Association of Home Builders came out with a report saying that the outdoor kitchen was dead, which I beg to disagree with.
Absolutely not.
Oh no, it's especially, they just didn't talk to anyone from Texas or California.
Every
I mean, in Michigan it might be dead, right? Yeah, exactly, but not here. And then they did say that the master closet is huge. I'm like, duh. Texas invented the master closet. I mean, our master closets are as big as DFW Airport, I mean, they have to be. And so, I think we all kind of know that. We know what our buyers want, we know what our consumers want, and our clients want, and that is definitely the kitchen, the outdoor spaces, and I love the laundry room and the master closet. Now, are you guys finding that the master closet is now getting a little wine room in it, a little bar, and a little coffee maker? And, yeah, so what are they doing in there that they need all that stuff?
We don't ask.
Just Bill, huh? Alan, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's typical for a family without small kids because the kids get up at 7 a.m. But that's where I am right now currently. But for somebody that's not necessarily needing to get to a meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's
Right.
nice to watch the news and drink your coffee and not come out of the master suite.
And just
So
stay in that cloud or that cocoon forever, right?
it's like a spa right at home.
Right, exactly. Alan, I know, has been building amazing homes, and I'm going to let him tell you about it because he can tell it better than I can. Although I've written several stories about your homes and how wonderfully energy efficient they are. What is it, $5 a month for heating and cooling your homes?
If you don't mind.
Oh yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Yay!
Yeah, I've been building this way with ICF. Basically, these are giant, my homes are giant Yeti coolers.
Oh, we love Yeti coolers, don't we? A house
So
of
they
Yeti
use
coolers.
very little energy,
Yeah.
and they're steel. This thing to my right is filled with concrete and rebar steel, so I need the visual aid because they're not seen that often. So, but I've done a lot of projects around the DFW area. They're far and wide. But to answer your question about appliances, I really feel like in this showroom, we're looking at an appliance line that is designed to be a forever appliance. You know, a Sub-Zero will last forever. You know, refrigerators are 25, 30
Right.
years. They're running forever. And that's kind of my home.
And that's kind of how they used to be in the good old days, you know.
Yeah.
They did. Right.
Well, they built. It's if you're planning to build in long-term life, you design it in, and that's what we do on our concrete homes. So our homes are going to be around for a while.
Well, that's good to know because it's important that we build homes that are here to stay and that are also secure against the elements. Like we just had a hailstorm, you know, a couple of days ago, and you know everyone's going crazy with that. Big hail, right?
Yeah, and there's things that we can do with the concrete tile roofs that are Category 4, hail resistant. There's a lot of things that are available in the marketplace to make homes that much more durable and that more able to withstand the elements.
Yeah.
I've built a lot of homes with large walk-in pantries that are also safe rooms or panic rooms.
Wow. So now your pantries, are you building those so they're also insulated?
Yeah, actually, I'm doing a small development of homes about 2,300 to 3,000 feet in East Dallas, and each house is going to have a pantry that will also serve as a storm shelter or a panic room.
Wow, very cool. Do you want to show us your presentation?
Sure, I do something really different, so I need visual aids, so if that's okay.
Yeah, do you want to start it now? Do you want us to chat while you get ready? Or?
I can start it just
Okay,
momentarily.
we're gonna indulge Alan because this is very fascinating. He is really a cutting edge builder in town when it comes to his construction procedure. Okay.
So basically, ICFs are insulated concrete form, and they stack together like Lego blocks, and consequently, we end up having a much, being a green builder is one thing. A lot of people think about solar and technology, but this is more low-tech approach to a high-tech problem. And so consequently, we focus on, these walls are stacked like this. And so, as you see in this video, I have a video right now that will show you.
Oh,
this
there
is
it
us
is.
supporting
Okay.
the walls. So these are modular units.
Thank you.
And so you can see them filling in the wall cavity, and inside the wall cavity there's rebar steel on 16-inch increments. So you end up having a wall that's a 6-inch steel reinforced concrete wall, and then this foam insulation stays in place. And literally, when I say that we're building a giant Yeti cooler, that's what it is.
Now, what goes inside there? Do you pour
Concrete.
in between that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so you get a monolithic poured concrete wall, and it's poured around the windows and doors. And they've done tornado lab testing at Texas Tech, where you're shooting a 2x4 at 100 miles an hour, and it just shatters.
Well, you know, with the crime rate in Dallas, it's probably bulletproof.
I don't want to use fear to sell my product.
Hey, police!
If it works.
I am building infill, so.
That's right. Yeah, that is really cool. And what are tell us about the utilities? I mean, because
Yeah, the homes I'm doing, we're projecting the 2,300 square foot plan is a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath, great room, large open spaces. Ultimately, we're going to see the heating and cooling costs to be right around $400 a year.
A year?
That's insane. Wow.
And that's before solar panels. I mean, if you get, so when you think about it, actually doing the walls with this is much cheaper than doing a really expensive solar array.
Yeah.
But you can still do solar, but you're going to have a much smaller installation. So on those homes, to get us to a net zero, which is, you've heard that term, net zero, meaning net zero to heat energy consumption, you're looking at maybe 3 to 4 kilowatts, free and low side, and that's today based on energy costs for a solar panel. You're looking at about 6 to 7 grand out of pocket expense, and then after tax it's going to be less.
What's the attic?
Oh, the
Sorry?
attic?
What's the top of the?
We foam insulate the underside of the deck. I mean, you can accomplish a very tight home with spray foam insulation, but these walls perform equivalent to a low mass wall of R50, and you can't get to that with a 2x6 or even 2x6 wall. So.
That's right. Now, the other thing is I've heard that geothermal is kind of going out of style a little bit. I'll ask you guys to talk about that. I mean, I've talked to a lot of home builders who say that, you know, some of their clients want to put the geothermal in, but it's so expensive, it takes so long to recoup it.
Well, it's like 10,000 a ton.
10,000
You got to drill a 250 foot. I've done it, and you've got to do 250 foot well,
Lots of
10 foot centers, and you need 1 well per ton. So if you got 6 to 10 tons, you're going to do 6 to 10 wells where you're drilling into the ground, and it's very expensive.
Well, I think that it's very exciting to see this kind of disruption, and I know that you started this. You started this a long time ago, and
95.
yeah, one of the first builders in Dallas do that. But you've got something over there that we want to look at. This nice. This has got foam with wood around it. Do you want to tell us, Matt, what that's all about? I'm going to pass this.
Sure.
Thank you. This is fun.
This is called structurally insulated panel construction, SIP construction. It is sometimes confused with ICF, which is insulated concrete form construction. Both would be considered super high performance homes. For this type of house, for the exterior walls and the roof, we're using this material. It's a oriented strand board. It's type plywood. It's higher grade than what you would typically see in a construction site, with foam board in the middle. And this would be your exterior walls, as I said, and it would be your roof. So it would complete your entire envelope of the house with this. It is incredibly energy efficient. One of the reasons why is there are no studs in the walls. You have 2x around the windows and around the doors, but I can have a 100-foot long wall and there's no studs
I have a question.
along the wall.
How do you hang a picture?
You put the sheetrock directly against this,
Okay.
so you can hang a picture anywhere you want. You don't. You're
You
not
never have to
locked
worry
into
about hitting a
finding
stud.
a stud. So now,
I kind of like
as far as
stuff.
any type of interior design or anything, it's so much easier to deal with.
Isn't that cool?
So it's literally like living in an igloo cooler. They're 2 to 5 times stronger than stick-built houses. So they're incredibly strong. I love them because you can get these big, beautiful, long spans out of them and just put the sheetrock directly to that bottom and you get these really clean, neat looks. Yes?
I know that this construction method is exceptionally popular in tiny homes, but about how large of a home could you build with that?
You can build 5 stories. You can build 100,000 square. You can build anything you want. With any type of construction, you can build as big of a house as you like, because they're so strong and so versatile. Yeah, the tricky part with a tiny home with something like this is it's kind of too energy efficient. You can't get an HVAC system small enough. They don't make them that small, so you have too much of a cooling system, heating system in the house. So now that becomes problematic if you're building 200 square feet or something like that. Any question?
So are both these methods being used in commercial buildings as well, or is it just
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. This is nothing new. This has been around since the 1930s. This was originally the concept came from the U.S. military. They were looking for a way to build walk-in refrigerators out in the field, break them down and move them and build them back up. So they needed something simple. So a company in Michigan, Forest Products Laboratory, kind of took up the challenge and came up with this concept back in the 30s. Frank Lloyd Wright kind of glommed onto them for commercial stuff. And because he loved the long spans you could get. He didn't care about the insulative qualities. He hated air conditioning. He thought it was the bane of mankind. But one of his students, Alvin Dow, of Dow Chemical Companies, loved air conditioning. He loved that concept. He was the first one that started building houses with them in the 50s. And it took off from there. Now, it's always been a little bit more expensive of a way to do stuff, which is why you'll never see a production builder, you'll never see a spec builder or anyone like that doing it, although I have a spec house right now that's built on it. You'll never find it wildly popular because it's more expensive. But since the energy codes, which as far as a disruptive member, I would suggest the main disruptive force within the industry would be the building codes. The building code updates every 3 years. So it makes things, we have to make things stronger, we have to make things more energy efficient, we have to make things, all kinds of things. So it forces us to rethink everything. Well, in ICF and certainly in SIP, it hasn't changed. We haven't had to do anything different. We're so far ahead of the code, so far above, so much stronger, so much tighter, so much more energy efficient that it doesn't really apply to us, which is nice every time it comes out. Yes? SIP is structurally insulated panel.
SIP.
SIP.
Like sippy cup.
Like a sippy cup.
SIP.
Okay.
Yes. So, yes?
And do either one of these have to have additional insulation, or is that
No,
sufficient?
that's it. You can get these as thick as 12¼ inches thick, and this is the skinniest one that they make. So it's
Wow.
it's very, very simple to put together. Your framers don't have to be as sophisticated as they would for stick construction, which is really great. It's kind of one of the main reason I got into this. I got into home construction in 2002. And in 2002, the building code, residential code, was fairly new. There'd never been a big international code for us. That started in 2000. And there was a white-hot raging debate at that time, which said, do houses need to breathe?
Right.
Or do houses need to be very, very tight? And you know, scientists on both sides of the equation were just fighting tooth and nail over this. And the reality is, if you're over here and you're in a house that was built in 1970 and it breathes a whole lot, there's nothing wrong with that house. The scientists are actually correct on that actually like a house that breathes. The only problem is it's really expensive to heat and cool. Now, if you're on the other end of the continuum and you're wildly tight of a house, that's actually fine as well. And it's really safe. You just need a really small HVAC system. Therefore, the management of that house moving forward is very inexpensive. And you just don't deal with problems as much. The problem is the code allows you to be in the middle. So it allows you to build in such a way that you can pass the code but build a very dangerous house. So the scientists who love this are correct. The scientists who love that are correct. It's just a question of kind of picking your poison. But over here, the code won't allow this. This is against the law. That ship has sailed. You can be here, or you can be out over here. And this is just kind of a direction that Alan and I went. We kind of saw the wind blowing and going, let's see where this is going. Let's figure, I'm going to be beyond all that and not have to worry about it.
Okay, so many questions. The journalist mind is going tick, 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 tock. 1 second. How much more are these to build, both Alan and Chris? How much more are they?
For a SIP house, it's a question I get all the time, and it's a very complex question to answer. I just built a house over in East Dallas, 3,000 square foot house. The cost differential was about 1%, so an extra $4,000. Not a big deal, but that's because the energy code has come so far along. We have to do so much in stick construction, so many layers, so much complexity, that if you do it correctly, the cost is big. And there's a whole lot of people out there that are not doing it correctly. And so it's not that big of a deal. It'll quickly pay for itself.
So Ellen, what are you finding?
It really depends on the size of the home. But just to give you an idea, I finished about a $3.5 million build up on Lake Louisville, and the wall system was $120,000. It was less than my window package. So, and represent, in terms of the overall cost of the house, it was about a 2% premium. But it's a 2% premium over, but we're also comparing apples and oranges. We're talking, so this was on a point on the lake, sustained winds, 70, 80 miles an hour. What's the true cost? One of the contentions I have is with the insurance industry in terms of really truly evaluating these homes and in terms of the way they cost insurance. So I feel our premiums are way too high and even during the building process, we all have to pay for builder's risk insurance during the construction period. The risk is immensely low for something like this versus, I've had 2 houses hit by tornadoes, one during a construction process, sustained no damage. Then I had another one hit right about completion, and it had about 4 squares of roofing material, which is an area 20 by 20. It peeled the roof off, that's it.
Wow. Now, where do you put the wires and the plumbing and stuff? I mean, because usually those go into the studs, right?
It just goes right in the foam. So right on this block here,
is that where yours goes to?
8-inch centers.
And drill it right there.
Oh, there, he's got a hole. There we go. Okay.
He's got a
to slice them into the side here.
Someone back here had a question. Yes, sir.
This will not support combustion. So you can hold a flame to this and pull it away.
Oh, let's test it.
It's self-extinguishing.
A wolf range around here?
Yeah, I got a lot of these blocks, but the reality is the smoke generated by a fire of an ICF home is 10% of the smoke generated from a wood home.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, I've got to get.
SIP will burn. It is a wood product, so the fire rating is the same as any wood structure. The foam, like that foam, will self-extinguish. It won't maintain a flame. If you keep a heat source to it, it'll burn. Pull the heat source away, it'll self-extinguish.
Well, I've got to ask Todd this question because I've been really concerned about the kinds of homes that builders are building these days. You know, everyone's into this box, and I know you're not, because you do a lot of stone and brick and everything, but there's so many of these stucco homes, or I don't know what it's made of, but they're all like smooth, you know, and then they've got the windows, and they're kind of like these modern boxes, and I'm really wondering what they're going to look like in like 10 or 20 years. So do you want to talk about that a little bit? Are you doing more of that? Is that what the consumer's asking for?
There's no doubt that the architecture today is headed in a more contemporary, style, and it's hard to do a good contemporary thinking with a lot of stone or brick or siding. So yes, you are seeing more stucco, no doubt about it. However, today it's not the same stucco that we did 25 years ago.
Thank God.
It is a hard coat 3-step process, cementatious, going up on the wall. So it's hard. I mean, you could throw a baseball against it, hit a golf ball against it, and it's not going to dent like the old stuff used to. But there, again, stucco is still, I would say, in my personal opinion, a higher maintenance to it than a brick or stone house. Yeah. Absolutely.
So are consumers asking at all, are they kind of going back to brick at all?
We're definitely, when you start in the transitional style, a ton of the painted brick, slurry bricks, that look, dark roofs, dark windows, white to off-white to gray, painted bricks, slurry bricks, yes, very wonderful look. And it's very nice in the middle of the road, so you don't have the issues with the hard contemporaries, and it's still not an old tradition.
Exactly. Are we ever going to go back to stone though? I love stone, but it's kind of like that no one wants to do stone anymore, do they? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there we go.
Stone hasn't gone away.
No.
It's just changed.
It's changed, okay.
A lot of the current trends are just cutting the face off of the stone. It's just the same rock. It's just a very clean, smooth face to it. We give it the name. It's just a cut Luder's smooth finish.
But it's still Luder's.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's really just the same material. It's just we've installed it differently. We've coursed the heights across the building instead of giving it this random ashlar pattern, which was popular 10 years ago.
Right.
To add to what Todd was saying, somebody asked us a while ago what a timeless house was, and our answer was one that respects the era architecturally and I don't know how to say it, size-wise, that it came from. So Spanish eclectic, if you respect every detail, then that's a timeless house to us.
Forever, yeah.
Yeah.
It's always Spanish, yeah. Beautiful.
Much like the timeless architecture, materials can be thought of in the same way.
What
So
about
if you
Tudors?
I'm sorry?
Tudors.
Ah,
It's the same
very
thing. As long as
popular
you
architectural
respect
style
the
here.
English Tudor and where it came from, then it's a timeless home. People will always respect that style and it'll always sell. Regardless, there's going to be somebody that wants that style. So materials can be thought of in the same way. God created stone.
Yes.
Man created stucco. So if you want a material that's going to last for 30 years, 100 years, choose something that's from the earth.
Yeah.
That's my perspective on it.
But God also created the wolf and the sub-zero, yes! Do you have a question?
I do. I know we're talking about walls mostly, but what about like foundations?
Oh, you mean pier and beam versus slab?
Yeah,
We did a story on that. You need to read
I know.
that. That's okay. Okay, I'll tell you what. This is good for us too. Let's just pass the microphone down and we'll say the question is slab or pier and beam. We'll start with you, Doctor.
What kind of slab? Not just slab, but
Yeah.
what do you do with slab?
Both.
Slab.
Whenever I start a project and have a lot, you do geotechnical engineering, and that'll tell you about the soil on the site, how expansive the soil is, the clay content, and things like that. Then you couple that with a set of plans and take it to a foundation engineer. I don't dictate to the foundation engineer, I have to have this type of foundation, ergo, I want you to shoehorn a bad idea into this situation. I'll say, what do you recommend? Let's talk about it. What makes sense? There may be situations where just a slab on grade is fine. It's very few of those places in the Metroplex where that's true. But there are a couple. Having said that, I'm a big fan of a suspended slab foundation made by a company invented by a company called Telefirma, holds all the patents. It's by a local engineering company called Childress Engineering. And where you let's say the house I just built with it, we expect the soil to expand in between really dry and wet periods 4.5 inches. That's not terrible in North Texas. If you want to get into Las Colinas and get into 10 inches or so. But it's a lot. It'll create cracks and problems in the house. After we poured the foundation, we mechanically lift the slab up 8 inches. So if my slab is here and the soil is down here, it can expand and contract. And this slab is on piers. And in my situation, we did piers that were 28 feet deep.
How many piers though?
27 piers for this house, which is not a huge amount. I mean, if that's a 3,000 square foot house.
Oh, okay.
It's not a huge number, but literally this entire house is resting on 27 1-inch screws. And the soil can move up and down, and even though it touches the foundation, it has no bearing capacity. that can push the foundation, that can heave it. And the heaving process of soil expansion is really the bad devil. Settlement is slow, heaving is fast. So when it dries and settles, it's a slow process. It's not great, but when that rain hits in buckets and it heaves, it swells quickly. And unfortunately, whenever we think of a soil around a house expanding, we tend to think of it in this terms. And unfortunately, it doesn't do that. It does this. So if you could do time-lapse photography, which I've seen on soil, the house is doing this. It's crazy. It's insane, the forces and the structure that's going on. So if you can raise it above all those forces, you're out of trouble. And it's the only foundation system that does not bear on soil. Pier and beam bears on the soil. Box form bears on the soil. Every other system bears on the soil.
Interesting. Okay, Todd, pier and beam, or slab or pier and beam. Tell us your foundation.
Well, we're fortunate. Most of our stuff is in South Lake, West Lake area.
Yeah. How is your soil out there?
Very good.
Very
so
good,
when
yeah.
Matt talks about a PVR of 4 to 6 inches, ours is 1 to 2 inches.
Yeah.
So it's just not a big concern. It's
Another
typically,
plus for Vaquero.
yes. It's typically a slab on grade with piers, but again, we let the engineer the soils test, review, let them review it and tell us what they recommend.
And so it's basically, you're also in agreement that you should have the engineer test the soil.
Absolutely,
That's
no
what
question.
always.
Every lot, we do every lot. Now occasionally, when we've done our own developments, we'll do a soils report for the entire development, but we'll still do one on every lot as part of it. So yeah, that's today a lot of them just for liability reasons. Will not even engineer without a site-specific source.
Oh my God, we try to tell people this when we write. We try to educate our readers so that they don't make these mistakes, because these mistakes are very costly.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's a $1,500 report. That why if you're spending $2 million.
Yeah, why do you skip on that? Talk to us about foundations.
Sometimes that report actually saves you money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, great. Absolutely.
So I mean, I can't really add anything to that, but the soils are really pretty mild here in town. We build in Preston Hollow in the 2 to 3 million price point. We use a post tension on piers most of the time, mainly because the soil report engineer has pointed us towards that. What Matt was talking about, the active zone of the soils, is basically everything from the top of the rock shale to the bottom of your foundation. And when they talk about PVR, it's potential vertical rise, like they were saying. When that soil is 100% saturated, that's how much the soil will move up and down. So they send this soil to a lab and completely saturate the soil and test how much it's going to move. So when they say your foundation may move 6 inches, as long as you have a 6 or 8 inch void box or cushion sand or even soil remediation underneath the slab, you're kind of killing that issue right there. So if anybody wants us to put in a pier and beam foundation, we usually advise them to follow the engineer's report. However, if it's something that just has to happen, like in Highland Park, it's one of those things like the Wolf Range, gets you a seat at the table when it comes to sales. Obviously you have to do it in that regard for quality's sake, but that's mainly because people don't understand what the foundation is actually doing underneath their home. So again, I second these guys' opinions. Rely on the engineers totally.
Alan, your turn.
Yeah, I agree. We won't start a project, and our engineer will not engineer unless we have a soil test on every site. We are doing a development in East Dallas that, surprisingly, we have a PVR of 1, which is like, it was like a unicorn.
Is that near White Rock Lake?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's a PVR of 1, and actually because we're doing all the utility work and we're excavating the soil, and so we've got 2 large troughs we have to dig for the sewer and the water line, and I've got a pile of this dirt, and I'm looking at it, and it's better than the select fill I've been buying on some other sites. So it was really really pleasant. I mean, I knew the PBR was 1, but actually observing it, and a PBR soil of 1 has got a lot of sand in it. It drains really well. It's very a good site. And the other thing on ICF, what this wall does around the perimeter, Matt was talking about lift, and that is your culprit with soil expansion. And if you do with an ICF home, even if you do for some reason, if your drainage, I had a client who changed the grade around a house years ago, and he put in a bunch of the landscaper came in, and it was a C-shaped house, which has got a lot of torque and potential issues in the long run, but it was piered, it was a structural slab, and I built, and your question about, I built on several different foundations, pier and beam across the board, but this was a structural slab on piers, and they changed the grade, and a lot of moisture was concentrated, and actually was torquing the 2-story section of the ICF home. It was the house had actually lifted off the piers about 3/4 of an inch. And after the client told me, and this is about 6 months after, because the landscape crew came in and made this change, and actually landscape crews can do a lot of damage if you really, as a builder, you really need to observe what the landscape crew's doing, because they make mistakes. And in this instance, they created a problem for the homeowner and concentrating a lot of moisture in the central part of the house. What needed to happen was, when he did this, they should have put in a French drain to get the moisture away from the center corner of the house, and it wouldn't have lifted the house. So it was an easy fix. They dug up, let the house dry out, the house came back down. He put in the French drain, and they never had a problem again. But that's where problems can occur, is really grading and the moisture, keeping the moisture away, and making sure that when you do work on your home after it's built, and this is another problem with pools. Pool contractors aren't necessarily focused on drainage away from home. You really got to make sure that that's addressed when you're building.
The house got a free elevator, you know? I mean, that's cool. I mean, just up and
When
down.
you don't want.
Okay, we have to talk about something fun, though. We've been talking about all these heavy duty, but very important basic foundation things, which I, love the nitty gritties of that. So I want you all to tell me, before we drink our adult drink and have fun again, tell me the most outlandish kitchens you've ever had to put in. I mean, just tell everything, spill the dirt. No one's going to print it. Heavens no.
It's live streaming.
Yeah.
It's only live streaming.
It's only live streaming.
Good luck.
Yeah, really.
Like, how big?
Yeah, give it to you real quick. It's going to be in your hands. I just finished a really nice kitchen. It was an addition onto a house, that 650 square foot addition that they just wanted to be the kitchen. Very large space, and it was runner-up. I did it did the addition out of SIP material, which had solved all kinds of headaches in HVAC systems and all the rest, made it possible. And it was just runner-up in international SIP competition for addition of the year. It lost out to a winery in Northern California. But as far as it had sub-zero appliances, and well, the range was really cool, huge range. Maybe that right there. But that would probably be something like that, probably 20 minutes.
Oh my God, that's incredible. Okay, and just, by the way, if it's not a kitchen, it's okay. If it's like a master closet or a really cool media room, but really we kind of like to hear about kitchens here, because
Sure.
that's fun.
I don't know that I've done anything outrageous, I'll say, but one of the funnest experiences was we did a large house down Highland Park, a couple blocks from Jerry Jones, down that area, right?
Did you ever do Jerry Jones' house?
No, I did not do Jerry, but I went down 6 months after they were in, and they were showing me around. The house is all finished and furnished and drapes and everything, and I said, "Oh, God, how do you like these Sub-Zero Wolf appliances? They're great, they're beautiful." Never used them. They had house staff that used nothing but the prep kitchen. So they've been in the house 6 months and have never turned on the range.
But did they have a wolf and a Sub-Zero
Oh,
in the prep
absolutely.
kitchen too?
Yes,
Oh, well, there you go.
but
Okay.
the big kitchen,
The big kitchen.
never used
Because it's for show.
for show. Absolutely.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Okay, and if you want to tell us about another room besides the kitchen, but not to put you on the spot.
I would say that probably the most outlandish kitchen would probably be the lack of a kitchen,
Oh,
which is kind of strange. But
yes.
so
we
we
want
have
to write this one.
Yeah.
we have a homeowner with very discerning taste. His car collection is number one for him. He's got a vintage Lamborghini collection. He bought the lot next door to him and wanted us to construct a single-family garage house, basically just a toy barn.
I think I know what this is.
The city of Dallas would not let us build a singular structure on a lot that was zoned single-family residential without a closet, a bedroom, and a kitchen.
Ooh, we
So
like
that-
the city of Dallas, yeah.
So we had to figure out basically the lowest budget kitchen we could come up with. It wasn't a wolf range, sorry.
Home Depot special.
It's on Meadowbrook.
No, I can't disclose that.
Oh, give another
It's in
bottle.
Preston Hollow though.
I think I know that.
So we achieved this by basically making a glorified wet bar and eventually just making it, you know, the man cave beer fridge with a cooktop and a. But it's funny, you say the outlandish kitchens. We've built a lot of beautiful kitchens. The one that sticks out of my mind is actually the lack of kitchen.
The lack of a kitchen.
Yeah.
But it's a car. Now, maybe the car had a kitchen in it?
No, the
Kitchen had a car in it.
so I can disclose what he's doing with this garage now because it's already happened. But this particular person, his name is Victor, and he's recently exposed his expedition that he's doing. He has climbed the top of every mountain on each continent. So he's the 7 summits. He's hiked to the North and South Pole. And now part of what's in the garage is this submarine pod that he paid to have custom built in Florida. It's crazy, I know. She said outlandish.
I love it. This is what my blood is boiling. I love this.
So the budget on this submarine was $40 million. And he's the sole, I think he's the sole investor with sponsors. His expedition is called 5 Deeps. And he's going to the bottom.
Are we Googling this, Bethany?
He's going to the bottom of every ocean, so he'll be the first person in history to do so.
What possibly could go wrong?
Yeah.
He's already achieved 2 of the oceans. He's got 3 more left. But I've crawled inside this pod inside of his garage that has, you know, a Countach, Diablo, all of the Italian names you can think of in the garage. But that garage holds the submarine that will have been the first submarine to achieve all of the ocean depths. So, and that house doesn't have a kitchen.
But it has submarine.
The house next door has a Sub-Zero wolf kitchen though. Thanks, guys.
Okay, Alan, you must have a crazy one for us.
Well, I don't know. The house I was going to talk about, he only had a McLaren in his garage, but not a collection of Lamborghinis. I don't know. I have actually I have a picture of the house. It was part of my presentation, but I wasn't going to show the whole thing.
Oh.
It had an outdoor kitchen with that's the foyer, but let's see that the lower.
Oh, tiny house.
Yeah, tiny house. That's and the lower kitchen had 3 different grills because one was a pellet grill, one was a gas grill, and then one was a charcoal grill, all in the kitchen with a huge custom vent hood that's 12 feet long with 1200s. It was a point. We were going to smoke the place out if we didn't.
And the Woodall's, thank you very much.
Yes. But that was one grill was not enough.
One grill. This is our new line for the evening. One grill is never enough. Never.
And it did have Sub-Zero and Wolf appliances.
Well, now, does anyone have a question? Yes, yes.
Okay, my question is, in Dallas, it seems like gas stoves are preferred by a lot of buyers, but the induction is something that is really coming into play with the builders, and I want to know what do I say to the buyers so that they can understand
I was going to say the same
the
thing.
difference and why
Induction versus gas.
So the question basically is induction now seems to be kind of getting traction with some of the home buyers, and we find that very much to be the case. There's been a lot of talk about energy efficiency. Induction cooking is the most efficient way to cook. We're just exciting the molecules of the cooking utensil. It's transferring the heat to the food. Unlike gas and electric, both as power sources, heat's radiating out beyond the cooking utensil. So the other thing is we're finding too, a benefit is with a lot of aging in place concerns, it's probably the safest way to cook. If somebody's getting in their Alzheimer years and you're worried about them, you know, because when the pan is empty, if they leave something on and don't remember, it just, everything shuts off and, you know, you don't have a heat issue or potential for fire. So we're finding induction, like a lot of these guys, been around a long time, but it just really is now kind of catching on and really becoming more popular. We're one of the few companies that offers a pro-style range in 30 and 36-inch footprint with induction tops. So,
We'll have to cover that some more in Candy's Dirt.
So State Farm will be the insurance.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. John.
I'm actually an induction user for 5 years.
Oh, you are?
They work at sharp, so you can heat water faster than you can your gas stove top, almost as fast as a microwave. And one tip for anybody who likes bacon, you can put the fry pan on it, you can cover the rest of the cooktop in paper towels, it will never get hot enough to burst into flame, and all the scattering goes on the paper towels, and throw it in the trash and everything's clean.
Oh. True story. Well, this has been fabulous, guys. We've learned so much. I hope it was interesting. I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, we want to thank the wonderful people here at Wolf Sub-Zero for giving us this toyland upstairs that we can, you know, play in. Thank you.
Also, we want you to continue the discussion online.
Yes.
We've been filming this whole thing live, so comment, share, you know, ask questions. We'll be here to answer. And thank you all for showing up tonight. It's just been so great.
Thank Rebecca for her wonderful food, by the way.
Yes. So great.
And if you don't subscribe to CandysDirt.com, I have my whatever it is, iPad here, one of those 10 things, and we can sign you up right now.
So much. I learned so much tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was brilliant.
educational.
Thank you.
Actually, where do you start?
I learned so much.
There's a lot of records out there. Oh my God, that was so good. Thank you.